Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So it has begun. COVID-19 vaccine, first person receives Pfizer jab in the UK, and you've probably heard all about this, but I think it's worth going into the particulars of this. So it was Margaret Keenan, a UK grandmother, who has become the first person in the world to be given the Pfizer COVID-19 jab as part of a mass vaccination program. Margaret Keenan, who turns 91 next week, so she's 90, said the injection she received at 6:31 GMT was the best early birthday present. And positively, on the bright side, if you will, at least she was in a high risk group if you only judge by age, but that is quite useful nonetheless. But also, it's worth keeping in mind that, and this might sound a bit out there until you consider it, that a lot of people who die because they choose to die. And that is actually the case. And the most compelling evidence for this is, of course, old couples where one half die and the other passes just a few months or a few weeks, just a couple of months later, because it's like, yeah, well, I was enjoying my time with them and now they're gone and the children are growing up and that's about it. I'm going to tap out of life. And on the flip side, you got people like Niki Lauda, the Formula One driver, of course, who wanted to beat James Hunt at the time. So he survived his devastating crash and burns and had to have his lungs drained, but he kept seeing James Hunt on the TV. I went, well, that's my rival. I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat him. And so it was not his time yet, and he kept on keeping on, and he survived through it. So COVID, for a lot of people, is only really a death sentence if you allow it to be. And that is the thing with a lot of these diseases, even degenerative diseases, that you can see people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who are the same age, and yet, evidently, obviously, the health is very different. Trump gets COVID-19, and he's back at it 3 days later. Joe Biden gets out of the shower, and he breaks his ankle. It's it's very different, even though they're about the same age. Trump has got a lot to prove, and he's going to keep on fighting. Biden has kind of given up, and it is reflected, very much so, that is how it is. And by all means, dispute this in the comments. I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys have to say on that theory, at least. But that's what we see time and time again. So I'm convinced, but maybe that's just a conspiracy theory about human life. Anywho, the particular issue here is that COVID-19 is perpetually being treated as the be-all and end-all, or predominantly just the end-all, that it's a death sentence. If you get it, it is the end of everything. We cannot continue all the time that this is present, and the only possible way to ever be safe is from this very rushed vaccine, and you've got to be ever so grateful to the government for ruining your lives and stepping in and preventing you from being able to feed your family, because if it wasn't for them, you'd definitely be dead. That's their suggestion. That is unequivocally what they're suggesting. That if it wasn't for the government making you redundant, you'd be dead. That is what they're suggesting. It's obvious bullshit to anybody. And if you put it like that, the majority of people agree. And yet, for whatever bloody reason, they can't quite see past this. So, it is because of this state of fear that is being continued, just because it's political. You have people saying, oh, it's the best early birthday present. And, as I say, high-risk group, fair enough. But as we'll go on to see, it's being touted as, oh, just the opportunity of a lifetime. And it isn't. So they've got 800,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine to be dispensed in the coming weeks, and up to 4 million more are expected by the end of the month, most of them being rolled out next year, which is only a few weeks away, really, about 3 weeks or so. So, hubs in the UK are starting the rollout by vaccinating the over 80s and some health and care staff. On the bright side, you won't be able to see any long-term effects because they'll probably have passed by then. Senior NHS sources told the BBC thousands of vaccinations had taken place across the UK on Tuesday. Dubbing the day V-Day, Health Secretary Matt Hancock said it was a tribute to scientific endeavour and human ingenuity and to the hard work of so many people. Fuck off. Fuck off. Please, 17 million fuck offs. To quote Dominic Frisby. V-Day, so not Victory Day, No, but vaccine day, I presume. We already have a V-Day, of course. If he's trying to do a play on words with D-Day, so, well, what does D stand for? Day. And it's used in any military operation, or at least was. The idea is, it's just, well, this is the day, so the day before, for example, the 5th of June, 1944, is D minus 1. 6th of June is D day, as in D0, so it is the day. And 7th of June is D plus 1. That's how it works. The D stands for day. It is really day. But enough of that moon nonsense. He says, today marks the start of the fight back against our common enemy, the Chinese Communist Party. Sorry, the coronavirus. The CCP virus. No, sorry, politicians would never say that, because when they become a politician, they swear an oath to never be honest again. PM Bojo, on a visit to a London hospital to see some of the first people getting the jab, said getting vaccinated was good for you and good for the whole country. Fuck off. They've got to keep touting this bullshit. And at this point, not many people really believe them, just the people who are so swept up by the fear. And the worst fucking thing about this is, as I said at the top of the show, is that it's only if you believe it's a death sentence that it is a death sentence. So, not only are they creating an artificial need for themselves, but they're killing people in the process, suggesting that, oh, it's the end of it all and you might as well give up because you've got the sniffles. Fuck you. Really fuck you. You're tearing families apart, and then you're suggesting people will die because they've got some symptoms. Off your fuck. You're evil. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said, today we should all allow ourselves a smile, but we must not drop our guard. So, oh huzzah. At the end of this bullshit that you've been putting us through for almost an entire fucking year now, oh, we're allowed a smile, but no one's going to fucking see it because we're all wearing masks. Aren't you so thoughtful? What have we done to earn such a privilege that we're all allowed to smile? Must not drop our guard. Oh no, because it could strike at any moment. I mean, probably like after 10 o'clock, because it's the curfew, and we all know that it doesn't happen before then. And it will strike at any moment if you're taking part in any libertarian or conservative protest, but it's going to stay away if you're joining in communist riots. Clearly, definitely. If you're celebrating Biden, not a problem. If you're trying to encourage freedom, it's definitely a problem because, the virus knows this. Don't you know that the virus has a calendar, a clock, and a political agenda? That's how the CCP virus works. Definitely. It's definitely not just politicking and trying to make you scared in order to increase government control. No, that would be too obvious. But thanks, Nicola. I'm allowing myself a smile. Finally, after months when I haven't been allowed to smile, now I can. Maybe pick your words more carefully next time. On Tuesday, the UK government reported a further 616 people had died within 28 days of a positive test. And what, mass testing? You're trying to test everybody? And only 616 people died? Bloody marvellous. More people died from fucking suicides because of the shit that you're putting on us. Taking the total by that measure to 62,033 in a year, as it pretty much is. 62,000 people died of a disease in a year. How is that news? Oh, because it has to be, because it's pushing an agenda. Yeah, okay. A further, whatever, who gives a shit? More people tested positive for the virus. Don't care. Second in line was William Shakespeare. I shit you not. I bet his parents were fun people. Good old Bill, getting it. Oh dear. Miss Keenan felt so privileged to be the first person vaccinated against COVID-19. Let's hope it does the job. It's the best early birthday present I could wish for, because it means I can finally look forward to spending time with my family and friends in the new year after being on my own for most of the year. I am so sorry that you believe the lies and you went through that. I'm so glad that you kept on keeping on and you kept up hope. But I'm so sorry that, for whatever bloody reason, you believed the shit show to say that you have to be on your own for most of the year. How the fuck can places like the BBC, which are trying to say that, oh, this is all positive, why would they print that? Why would they? How much does the mask need to sleep? How much of an echo chamber do they fucking have? To say, oh yeah, but it's good now. I was on my own for most of the year. Let's just ignore all the shit that we've gone through. Isolating so many people so that they can't be with their family, their children, their grandchildren, maybe even their great-grandchildren. You can't have any of that. You're on your own now. And, hey, surely it would appeal to them because women are most affected because the men have already died. Because of workplace illnesses. Oh, and then just on the sidecar here, we see Sputnik 5 vaccine rushed out to wary Russians. Yeah, our vaccine's definitely good, it's amazing, but the Russians are evil. If the Chinese come out with one, that's going to be the best. Obviously. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, their one's the best until the Chinese come out with one that's better. We've got to kowtow to our Chinese overlords, but we're still supposed to be trying to buy into the Russia hoax of swaying the election, meddling into it of 2016, which we've all found out to be a lie, and a purposeful lie, as in Obama knew that it wasn't true, but pushed it forward anyway, just to try and discredit Donald Trump being legitimate president of the United States. He knew it was a lie at the time. Are any of these going to be imprisoned? Of course they're fucking not. But now Russia is evil. I mean, when it was communist, and millions of its inhabitants died, even in the Holodomor in the 1930s, that was good, because millions of people are dying from starvation, from a murderous ideology. But now that they're actually trying to help their citizens, they're evil. Fuck off. And the BBC is supposed to be impartial. Pull the other one. But the reason, of course, they mention this from Miss Keenan is because she says, my advice to anyone offered the vaccine is to take it. If I can have it at 90, then you can have it too, she added. Yeah, we can. You know what we can also do? Not have it. I prefer that option. Because it's an option. Because supposedly, it's not compulsory. And you think you can see your family now? No, you're going to have to wait till Easter at the fucking earliest. Because, yeah, sure, you've been vaccinated, and you're in the high risk group, whereas your family aren't, but you're not allowed to meet up with them yet. Not only do you have to wait a few weeks before you get your second dose, if you live that long, but also, bear in mind, your family aren't vaccinated yet, so there could be a problem, because it's only 95% effective, and you might still pass it on to them. Chances of that, negligible. It's not going to happen. It really isn't. But that doesn't matter, because otherwise you wouldn't be living in fear, and if you're not in fear, you might be realising that the government isn't necessary. And what would we do then? We'd obviously live a much happier, joyful, free life, but the government can't have that, because you're suggesting they're not necessary, and when their job's on the line, they're going to do everything bloody possible to keep themselves worthwhile, or to keep the illusion that they're worthwhile. Professor Stephen Powers, National Medical Director of NHS England, who witnessed the historic moment, it's like euthanizing, isn't it, said, we couldn't hug her, but we could clap, and everybody did so in the room. You clapped, did you? Are you sure you shouldn't have done jazz hands to be so delicate? And why couldn't you hug her? Oh, because of the coof. So what? Because she could still get it? Well, yeah, of course. So the vaccine... So, oh, you need the second dose a few weeks later. Okay, so at that one you're going to hug her. No, because we could still get it, but she's vaccinated. Yeah, but we're not. So, right. So we can't be normal until everybody is vaccinated. I see. Yeah, kind of knew this from the beginning. From the get-go. Throughout the day, a lot of people have been getting it, including Sister Joanna Stallone from Northern Ireland, first in Northern Ireland. Well done. Hope it works and you don't want children ever. She's a sister, it'll be fine. Speaking in the comments, the Health Secretary stressed people did not need to apply for the vaccine. Oh no, you're gonna fucking get it. He said the NHS would be in touch with those eligible and urged them to please step forward for your country. Yes, apparently now this is a monumental occasion and you're doing it for your country, not just for the whims of government to pretend that they're important. And of course he's wearing his, Diversity Built Britain NHS name tag. That's fucking rainbow. So I used to like the rainbow. Except, of course, now it's been co-opted by kiddie fiddlers. Sorry, the LGBTQ community, which definitely don't include paedophiles. No, it's definitely not pushing sexualizing young children for the exploitation of the LGBTQ community. Definitely not. No, not. Ooh. The funny thing is, of course, that the LGBTQ community is not really a community so much as it is a political movement. And so you'll have very many lesbians, bisexuals, gays, trans, well, so many queer folk, but who do not agree with being lumped in with all the other alphabet people and would rather just exist as an individual. But they're the worst, of course, like Douglas Murray or Marley Yiannopoulos, who are both gay. They're evil. They're the equivalent of Uncle Toms, but for the gay community, don't you know? Well, of course, we just don't have a Huckleberry Finn-style book about them yet to give them a rude, crass, racist, homophobic nickname yet. So, Mr. Hancock went on to warn that there was still a long march ahead, saying that there were worrying signs of the virus growing in Essex, London and Kent. Yeah, it's basically either throw a dart at a map of the UK, or, who's most gullible, let's target them next. New data released by national statisticians for the week ending 27 November showed that of the 14,106 deaths registered in the UK, nearly a quarter involved COVID. This is 20% higher than the 5-year average, but similar to the percentages seen in the past 2 weeks. NHS England Chief Executive Sir Simon Stevens called the first vaccinations a remarkable achievement, but cautioned it was a first step and incredibly important. People continue to act sensibly, and they're going to continue that on. So yeah, the increase in deaths, there are more things you can die of. And if you're vulnerable, you're going to die sooner, because we can't keep you alive any longer, because you've already passed life expectancy. Oh, and they've died now, instead of living a few more months. Funny that. You know what, you'll also see, in places like Sweden, and I'm putting this forward now, that you'll have an increase in deaths, and then a decrease in deaths. Because most of the people that would have died with the coof are the type that would have died just a few months later. And so, essentially, it's taking out the people that are at the end of their lives anyway, just a bit quicker, and so once that passes through, it's going to even back out, and death rates are going to decrease again for a couple of months, and then it's going to get bad again. But of course, this is going to coincide with the vaccination rollout program, so that they can say, oh, this is definitely down to the vaccine. Look, we're having like record low deaths. Woo, isn't this amazing? It's like, no, it's very predictable. If you hadn't done anything in the first place, I'm not surprised. But that's what they're going to claim, so mark my words. Call me Nostradamus, I know what's going to happen. I wish I could say I was on the inside, but it's too bloody obvious at this point. The government just doesn't surprise you. It's always going for power grabs, pretending that it's responsible for everything good, and you're to blame for everything bad. It's very much like a pyramid scheme. That's what it is. Like, oh, if you do what we say, you're going to do well. And if you're doing badly, it's because you're not doing what we say. Fuck off. Please fuck off and leave us alone. I know it's not English, but nonetheless, I think it's worth quoting. Give me liberty or give me death. At this point, I think there are a lot of us that are feeling the same way. That life isn't really worth living if we have to do what you say. Big government, big brother, daddy government, although it's more maternal at this point, like fucking snowplow parent. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And if you get in the way, I will politely ask you to leave me alone. And if you continue to infringe on my rights and just my individuality, then I will protect that. And I will protect it vehemently. So I do not recommend you take the course of action. But hey, that's about it. Finishing off with Bojo saying she's protecting herself but also helping to protect the entire country. Please leave us alone. Please do. You're getting behind something that you wish to take all the credit for and suggest that the alternative is horrific when that is just really inaccurate. That you know that you came in on a wave of patriotism and you're trying to reignite that falsely for your own political agenda, and I do not appreciate it at all. So please fuck off. Please do. You're not really giving anything to us that is of conservative values, which is why you are voted in. So just trying to pay lip service now is patronising at best and manipulative at worst. So leave us the fuck alone. Go get on with your life. You struggle with COVID because you were overweight. That's your problem. Don't try and ban it for the rest of us, alright? Just because you've got self-control problems doesn't mean that we do. Yeah, a conservative. It's down to individual responsibility. Maybe you should get that through your fucking blonde sculpt, you dipshit. Anywho, as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, until next time, have a good one.